Hello, my name is Yuna Choi, and I will be talking about acceptable use policies. What is an AUP? An acceptable use policy is a document that ensures safety and implements the right use when using the internet or other technologies in a specific environment. Some examples of places that should have an AUP are companies or any other facility that provides free Wi-Fi at their location. For example, a Starbucks, Barnes& and Nobles, or any other cafe that provides Wi-Fi. Schools, elementary, middle, and high schools, and universities and colleges. Here are some critical features that I believe every AUP should have. I think AUPs are very important to have in schools to ensure the appropriate use of technologies for students and staff members and administration. It should also promote educational use of the technology being used and give rights and responsibilities to the users. I believe AUPs should include the purpose of why they need an AUP, a list of responsibilities of how users should and should not be using the computer systems, networks, and other technological devices. After reviewing a lot of AUPs through this project, I realized that a lot of them just listed a lot of restrictions and things users were prohibited to do, and not a lot shared of how users should be using the networks and computers rather than what they are not allowed to be doing. I believe that all AUPs should include the consequences of what happens when you do not follow the document, and a separate document for parents and students to review together to sign if you are using an AUP at a school system. I think it's important that parents and students go over these documents together to ensure that their child knows the expectations of what they are allowed to be doing using their school's devices and networks. I looked at Montgomery County Public Schools AUP, and I found it on the MCPS website, although it was a little hard to track down because it is not called an acceptable use policy. It is called the User Responsibilities for Computer Systems, Electronic Information, and Network Security. The heading at the top of the page says regulations, so although it was not called an AUP, it does serve the same purpose as an AUP, just with a different name. There is one document for both students and staff regulations and responsibilities with the use of any MCPS-related computer systems, technology devices, and network use. MCPS provides many forms of technology and network access to enhance learning through the mission of MCPS. And the document is addressed to all MCPS users unless it's only applicable to students or staff members. So there is no separate document for students and staff members. Here are the list of the consequences that I found on the document for staff members depending on the severity of the noncompliance. You could have a conference with administration. You can just get a warning. You can get the loss of use of devices and networks. You can be put on suspension without pay. You could be dismissed or demoted, or you could be criminally prosecuted. For students, a lot of them are similar, but again, depending on the severity of the noncompliance, we could contact parents and conference with them. They could get the loss of using the technology devices or network. They can be suspended or expelled, or it could be, again, they could be criminally prosecuted for their actions. I think it's very important to communicate the AUPs to parents and students. I think it's very important that you provide the link to the actual document. Again, like I said, it was a little difficult to find on the website. You can provide it to parents through a newsletter. If you have a classroom website, you can put the link up for there, or put it on the school website. You can go over the document with parents through a meeting. I know my school has a back to school night where you could go over the document in a little segment at back to school night. Just having open communication with parents, I think, is another great way to communicate this document to them, and to provide other resources for parents to use with their children and to review with their children about how to use the internet safely. For students in the classroom, you can go over clear expectations in a lesson before introducing or working with any technological device. I think it's important to go over these expectations before they're even allowed to be using Chromebooks for the first time or going on the desktop computers. I think it's important to communicate consequences in case of any of the non-compliances, just so that students know what could happen to them if they do not follow the regulations. I think we could go over the document together in a more student-friendly way, and to continue to come back to the responsibilities and regulations throughout the entire year and not just mention it once and moving on from that. Here are some examples of ways that the AUP could be implemented in the classroom for teachers. I think it would be great to continuously have safe internet use lessons. Found a couple of great resources to implement the safe use of internet. NetSmarts was a great website where they go through the importance of internet safety. And there are tons of resources out there, like videos. One example is BrainPop Jr. They show a great video and overview of the importance of using the internet safely. I think going over the IST standards for being a good digital citizenship would definitely help as well. One of the standards is 2A. Students cultivate and manage their digital identity and reputation and are aware of the permanence of their actions in the digital world. I think discussing age-appropriate examples of how permanence could affect someone on the internet would be really helpful for students to realize that once they post something, it really stays on the internet forever. Even if it's deleted, somebody could have saved it or screenshot it, and I think that's important to go over. Another standard was 2D for good digital citizenship. Students manage their personal data to maintain digital privacy and security and are aware of data collection technology used to track their navigation online. I think it's important to teach students that their accounts and passwords should be kept in a safe place and not shared with any of their classmates. I think it's important for teachers in the classroom to store students' accounts and passwords in a safe place so that other students cannot access them, just so that their information will be safe at all times. These are some recommendations for teachers to kind of make sure that they are following regulations and are being safe. I think it's important to always be cautious of what your students are doing on their devices. You can never be too safe with that. Always be walking around, looking at their screens, looking at what they're doing, and making sure that your expectations are clear when they are using these devices. Be careful what you are sending on your school email. I think if you would not feel comfortable with a parent or administration reading the email you're about to send, just don't send it. Having a conversation rather than sending an email would definitely be better. Continuously review your school's AUP to notice if there are any changes or anything's updated, and do not share any of your school accounts or passwords with anyone. Here are some additional links about acceptable use policies. There are other resources that you can read about, learn more about. The first one is about there are sample acceptable use policies in general, and how you can develop one for your own use. And the next two links are more geared towards acceptable use policies for a school system, for educators and through education. So Feel free to check them out and learn more about acceptable use policies. Thank you for listening.